All right, today we're going to talk about Drive workflow options, specifically focusing on handouts and handout folders. There are some handout options that you have when looking at Drive if you're trying to get things to your students. The first one that I'm going to talk about is organizing things by subjects. So inside of a home handouts folder, and you could have a home handouts folder for each course that you have, maybe a high school folder, a middle school folder, and an elementary folder. Or you could have just one home base handout folder or any other option or combinations of home handout folders you want to do. Within that, you're going to put your subject folders, and then within the subject folder, you would break down your subjects into maybe units or chapters or small little skills within that content area. That's one way to do it. So organizing by subjects and content areas is one way you can do it. Or you could organize your folders inside those home handout folders by students. If you wanted to hand specific things to specific students, you could, inside the home handouts folder, put a folder for each student, and then inside those student folders would be folders for either subjects, your units, chapters of study, or the skills that they're working on, to try to keep things organized for them so they don't have to leaf through 500 different documents and PDFs. So those are two ways that you can do it. I think they're probably the two easiest ways to hand things out. So the first one again is a handouts folder, and then your subject folders, and then some unit or chapter folders inside of that. Or you can do it your handouts folder with the student names and the chapters or units inside of that. When you create those folders, you'll need to share one of the following layer of options. You can share the handouts folder, that top level itself. What that will do is share everything that's in that handouts folder to everyone that is on that folder. So if I share my handouts folder with student 1 will get every document that's inside the handouts folder. That's both good and bad. It depends how you want to set your folder structure up. You could share the subject or student folder that's in the second layer, and again, if I share it with student 1 is going to get everything, even the folders inside the subject or student folder, when I share it with student 1. And last but not least, I could share that last layer of folders with the student, the unit folder or the content folder or the skill folder with them, and they'll see everything that's in that folder. Depending on how you want to set it up, and sharing as much or as little as you need will depend on which one of these options that you pick. Personally, what I do is I have my homeroom handouts folder, that top level handouts, shared with my whole homeroom, and then I have a separate one for my math class. But maybe what would work for you is sharing the subject or the student folder with them, and then putting those specific skill folders within that. So maybe you would share the high school folder with all the high school students, or maybe you would share the writing folder with all the students you work with on writing. You'll have to decide which one of those particular structures works for you and the way that you kind of think about organizing your materials. So once I've shared those folders, like I said in the previous slide, everything automatically shares with everyone that's on that particular folder. And we'll look in a later session on how to create a contact group to make that sharing process really as easily as it possibly can. Once a folder is shared, a person can be added or removed from it. A person can be added or removed from a single item, but it's easiest to just share the whole greater folder instead of having to share each item each time, because inevitably you're going to forget to share some item with some student. So it's easiest to share the folder and then put the items in the folder so that they are automatically shared with everybody that needs them. You just have to remember easily which folders to go to, because that's all your students will end up seeing. And last but not least, when we're looking at handing things out, the way that I kind of see it and the way that my students see it is whatever folder they're looking for. Let's say they're looking for a science unit on ecosystems. So ecosystems would be their S1 folder. Inside the S1 folder would be a PDF of what I need them to get. And again, in a later video, we'll look at how to make items into a PDF. So they'll go in there and they'll open that PDF, and on the iPad there'll be an option to open in, and we always open it in Notability. That's where we do all our work. And then I'll show you again in a later video how they hand that in. And there are a couple workflow options there that might make your life exponentially easier. So I put it in the particular folder that they're going to look for. They find the PDF file by the name that I want them to look for it. They go and work on it in Notability. And I want to show you in the live view what that looks like. So when my students go in, I have on my side this For Students page or folder, but what they literally see will be this Homeroom Handouts folder, or they'll see this Math Handouts folder. They won't see all of the other stuff that you just saw. So they'll see a Homeroom Handouts folder. I'll say open the Homeroom Handouts folder. Inside that, they see all these folders and all these documents. And if we're looking for something like that ecosystems folder, they'll go to the content folder, they'll find the ecosystems folder, and then they'll find the notebook that I want them to find, like maybe this ecosystems notebook. And here it is. And then on their drive, the open option on the iPad will actually be up here where the X is, and they'll open it in Notability. So that's handing things out using this Google Drive system. Like I said, you'll have to make some decisions about which set of those workflows works best for you. Once you've made those decisions, you're going to want to start making some folders and putting those inside. As you saw, if I go back out to my Homeroom Handouts, I have quite a few folders in there, but then inside those folders, like this content, there are folders within folders, and sometimes folders within those folders. You can keep putting folders inside of folders just to get things organized and try to keep things together for later. So that's the basics of handing things out. I'm going to send you this presentation along with the video. Feel free to ask any questions that you have along the way. Thanks for watching. Hope you found it helpful.